We are Ball Knowledge Sports. We are here to educate you about the great world of sports. It is the first episode. We got Henny Breen. We got him.
Thane Breen.
And it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
let's
jump into it. Yeah.
Right into it and stuff.
All right, let's start with the NFL. A lot of exciting things happening trade-wise. A lot of exciting things happening in the draft. We're going to start out with, let's just talk about the combine first. A very interesting combine this year. I'd
say pretty boring combine.
Yeah, Shedeur didn't even show up.
Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, neither of them even threw. Isaiah Bond, two of Xavier Worthy's former teammates, and Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden said they would break Xavier Worthy's record. Neither of them did. I don't know if it will be broken until Ryan Williams gets there, but yeah, pretty boring combine.
I'd agree with that. I think if Ryan Williams got it, would go to the NFL right now, I think he could be very good. I think he could surpass a lot of expectations so far from half the guys in the combine this year. I think he's already better than most of them, along with Jeremiah from Ohio State. So kind of a boring year this year for the draft, but I think Shedeur Sanders just kind of was arrogant about that. I don't think he's good enough to not show up and do it. I don't think he's of that tier, despite what his dad says.
Cam Ward didn't go either.
That's a fair point. I think both of them should have showed up, but despite all of what has been said about Shedeur and how great he is, I don't think he showed it in college, and I don't think that he has really showed it thus far just interviewing.
Shedeur's strong point is accuracy. He's not the hardest thrower. That goes to Cam Ward. He's not the strongest. That goes to Cam Ward. I mean, obviously, he had a pretty good wide receiver core. I think the sky is the limit. But at times it just feels like he's not all in it.
He has a lot of athletic ability, but yeah, it seems like his head isn't always there. As far as him wanting to be there, or just as far as like IQ of the game, it just seems like he's kind of lacking in a couple different areas that can lead to mature a lot coming into the NFL, I think. But Cam Ward, I think, looks really good as far as maturity level, but I also think he was pretty arrogant to not go and do anything at the combine.
Yep, so that is the NFL Draft Combine. Deebo Samuel was traded to the Commanders Saturday night. Not super shocking. Everyone knew he was headed out. Let's see what this does for that Commanders team, though.
I feel like it could make them a lot more dangerous just to add another weapon, but he also isn't the Deebo Samuel of 3 or 4, even 5 years ago. He's not the same level. He's still got the threat there, but he's not what he used to be. He still has some upside, and it's probably good for the 49ers to get him off the payroll, so maybe they can draft somebody. But I think for the Commanders, that's kind of a win, just to add another fear factor for their already dangerous team coming out of last year. Upsetting Lions, getting close on the Eagles, a lot of things. The Commanders have a ton of upside, and this could add to that team.
Now everyone's saying because one of the big things for Deebo was he wanted to be wide receiver 1. He ain't wide receiver 1 in Washington.
No.
Scary Terry is on the different
Miles
planet compared, and I would make an argument if they re-signed a guy like De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown is a guy who could pass Deebo Samuel. Samuel is not the guy he once was. He, like you said, a lot of upside, but he's not wide receiver 1, that's for sure.
He might not even be wide receiver 2. Like, looking at how that team functions, he could be wide receiver 3 or even like a slot. So that could be very interesting to see how his attitude kind of proceeds, because he already didn't have a great one, kind of piggybacking off of Ayuk. So who knows? He probably won't have a great one here with this team either. But the Commanders are still going to be dangerous either way. But
the Detroit Lions are the most aggressive team that has come out for MYLES, GARRETT. Brad Holmes working his magic again, and he does not want to stay in Cleveland. He doesn't want to work out an extension. He's made that clear. The Lions, great option, and I don't think there's anything stopping Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They want to get a championship. That's what their goal is.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the Lions do have to be careful. This is a loaded draft for defensive players. Obviously, that's what they need. Obviously, MYLES GARRETT, a game-changing player, but we'll see how much it takes to get MYLES GARRETT. I think it would probably be the Lions if he did leave. I don't see the Commanders giving up a first-round pick after they just gave up a fifth-round pick for Deebo Samuel. Maybe, because MYLES GARRETT's that type of player, but we'll see what happens with that.
I think putting Garrett next to Hutchinson could be very dangerous, and it can make that Lions defense a little bit scarier, but also leave some weaknesses back there in the secondary. Like, their secondary has some good players, but it still has holes. But I think that overall that could make the defense better, but it still leaves some holes that you have to kind of draft into. And I don't know if it is worth it to draft him and then maybe overlook some player in the secondary that you could draft.
Now, they got Z.D. Smith. They got Ali McNeil, also recovering from ACL. But guess who got released today? The longtime Detroit cornerback Darius Slay has been released from the Eagles. So he said it's either Philly or Detroit. Obviously, that's not what always happens, but I don't think he's going back to Philly. Lions should grab him.
They should 100%.
I think he's a low-risk guy, especially with Ennis Rakestraw Jr. still coming up. Darius Slay could be huge for TA
Some seniority over there.
And Ennis Rakestraw. I would love that deal. I think Darius Slay, even at 34 years old, makes a huge difference on this defense. The offense is good.
Yeah, they don't need any help.
So we'll see. Now, Ben Johnson, I don't know if you saw this, made some comments. They asked him about Penei Sewell, and he said that Penei Sewell threw a better ball than Jared Goff. And
very interesting to say that about one of the highest percentage quarterbacks from last season. Ben Johnson's kind of leaving and now just creating up a bunch of turmoil, and that'll be a fun, kind of a new rivalry between the two teams, kind of a re-inspired rivalry between the two teams.
Yeah, I don't know what Ben is thinking. Dan Campbell made you. Now you're on your own, obviously. You're going to be what you are. But overall, Dan Campbell made you, and the Lions would not have been as successful with a different quarterback as they were with Jared Goff. So there's those comments, not liking them. And Ben Johnson is public enemy number one for Lions fans now. He is.
Yeah, he really has created a lot of turmoil, and I don't even think, how can you say that with a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who had a good season for a rookie, but is still very he's unknown right now. Who knows where he could be really good this year, he could be really bad, who knows where he's going to go. He's very, just a mystery to the NFL. He's not as established as Jared Goff is, and an obvious threat as Jared Goff is. I don't know how you can say that with that kind of a quarterback over there like Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Changing to NBA, Steph Curry dropped 12 threes, 56 points on, I believe it was Wednesday night, as he's
been tearing it.
Jimmy Butler has been a huge difference for that Saturday night game where he was hurt. But I think on the defensive side of the ball, he's making a huge difference. The Pistons in a wild card spot right now. Lakers seem to be putting it all together. Luka's starting to figure it out the last week. And, a couple more months left in the regular season before NBA really gets good.
Yeah, I think the Knicks' defense starting to maybe look a little bit better. Over there in Philly, Embiid is out for the rest of the season, so that's huge for their playoff run. Kind of leaves the Knicks and the Celtics kind of alone out there in the East. But yeah, like you were saying, the Warriors, once they added Jimmy Butler, I think a very good defensive player, along with drawing a lot of attention on the offensive side of the ball to free up Curry, to free up a lot of their other shooters, to create this winning streak that they've had. I know they lost one in there, but they have really started to pick up their gameplay, and I think that they could be a very big threat coming into the playoffs. I think they'll probably be one of the last 4 teams left. I think that West is gonna be a shooting match to get out of there.
Now, don't forget, Cavaliers in the East. They're first in the East right now. Down 25-3 versus the Celtics, and they came back and won that game. Jason Tatum played his butt off, and Celtics could not, even with a 25-3 lead. I mean, this is the best we've seen the Cavs, I would say,
ever.
Pre-LeBron.
Yeah.
They're looking scary. You got the Spider. You got
Donovan Mitchell's leading that team to the playoffs.
I mean, that team is very scary right now, and
Perfectly rounded team.
We'll see if they choke or not, but they're looking very good. The Celtics definitely can get hot, but Cavs are looking scary.
Especially the way they played against arguably the second best team in the East. You know, I think that's a really big upset to how far down they were. But yeah, they have a really good team this year. Perfectly well-rounded from start to finish. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play in the playoffs against the Knicks and the Celtics.
Hey, maybe we see a Cavs, Warriors, NBA Finals rematch.
Little throwback
Throwing it back to 2016. It could happen. Warriors still to get Jonathan Kuminga back and a couple other guys, so yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think very interesting, to say the least, how the NBA is kind of shaping out with Wemby going, with Luka being traded, with the Mavericks going from a team that could look dangerous to now they're just kind of the old guys out of their prime, struggling, I feel like. Just a lot of the last couple weeks have been kind of crazy for the NBA. Along with the MLB, I think the MLB is definitely starting to ramp up, and it's almost time, about a couple more weeks, and we got opening day starting back up here.
Yep, March 27th, opening day. And yeah, Mike Trout's back and healthy, hopefully for a full season. Yeah, shaping up to be a good season. We'll see. The season could take a lot of different turns. I think a lot of people are overlooking some teams that missed the playoffs last year. Obviously, you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s future up in the air. Free agent class is stacked for the 2025-26 offseason, so this is a big year for a lot of players, and it should be a fun ride.
Yeah, I think Vladdy being up in the air, if the Yankees could sign him, would be big after they missed out on Bregman, and now Bregman is in their division. That'll just be a tough one to have to go against. So I think signing somebody like Vladdy could really kind of round them out, especially with Stanton being out. That's a big bat to have out, and to add Vladdy could potentially fill that hole. And then once Stanton comes back, it'll be all engines go, I think. Over there in the NL, though, I think it could be between the Mets and the Dodgers, but I don't know how much of an impact Juan Soto could do. I know he is one of the greatest hitters right now, but how much of an impact can he really do with a team that struggled?
This Mets pitching staff, it's not deep enough. Soto's great and all. At the end of the day, pitching gets you to a deep October, early November. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are a team to look out for. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen will also be a free agent, but that is a scary 1-2 punch. Bullpen's a little short on guys, but they still do have some guys who can step up out there, and that is a scary lineup when they're right. They traded for Josh Naylor, re-signed Eugenio Suarez, Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel, Ketel Marte. Really good lineup, really good overall team. I think the Dodgers will probably win the division. I mean, it'd be embarrassing if they don't. But D-backs, I mean, anything can happen come October. We saw that 2 years ago. They could make a run.
As good as the Dodgers have always been, they always seem, minus last year and, a couple years ago when they won the World Series, they normally seem to fold in October. They have the highest payroll in the MLB right now, but they always seem to fold. And I think that the Diamondbacks could be the team to fold them like an easy paper airplane over there. I think that the NL could end up being between those two teams in the championship series.
And Torey Lovello, a heck of a manager for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That guy knows how to lead a team. And don't overlook the Braves. I mean, they lost Max Fried, lost another big piece, but that is still a very good team. Signed and Profar. They had a whole all-star team on the injured list last year, like Spencer Strider, Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies. That is a good-looking ball club, and same thing with Brian Snitker. I mean, they should not have made the playoffs last year. It was a first-round exit, but that's a scary team.
Yeah, coming out hot, they're all been well-rested. They're going to come out hot and probably tear up the NL, especially, like you said, having a whole all-star team on the injured list and still making it to the playoffs, being led by Marcell Ozuna. I think if we could get Acuna back and Albies back, that would be to match Marcell Ozuna's intensity from last year. That could be one of the best offenses we've seen in a long time. It could be very scary. With that, I think we should jump into March Madness. I think there's a lot of upsets going, turning around up and down. Illinois just beat Michigan by 20. They're unranked right now. I don't know how in the world that happened, but it just seems like the Michigan offense is not good right now. They haven't been doing well. They won last week by 3 points. It's the first time in 17 years where Michigan has won a game without scoring 50 points. And I think their offense is just not in it right now. They need to turn that around. They have the pieces to do it, but I think they really need to turn that around.
It is honestly amazing that Dusty, if Howard was still coaching Michigan, I think they're a 15-win team at this point. It is amazing that Dusty May has even got them to this point where they were fighting for a first-round position just yesterday. Obviously, those hopes are gone now, but play spoiler with Michigan State. That game against Illinois can't happen, especially a couple weeks before March Madness officially starts. Now. And we'll see how far they go, but I think, Michigan State's obviously the better team out of Michigan right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that although Auburn has the better record, I think Duke is definitely the front runner, in my opinion, for winning it all. Cooper Flagg is just too dominant, and he's too good in all aspects of the game to be stopped by anyone that I'm watching right now. I know Alabama looks pretty good. They're ranked a little bit lower than that, but Auburn has a good chance, but I think overall Duke is a blue blood and they will probably take it over. I think some dark horses could be MSU. I think they're being very overlooked, and they are the 8 seed right now. They're playing very well. Overall, I think Duke probably has the win. It'll be interesting to see on Selection Sunday where each team is placed and what happens in all the tournaments, SEC, Big Ten tournaments. With that, going back kind of the NFL Combine, you made a mock draft for us, so I think we should jump right into that, and then we can come out of that and kind of wrap things up, and next week I will give mine. So let's jump into that.
So I got Cam Ward going number 1. Abdul Carter probably is a better player, but I think Abdul Carter ends up going second, Shadur third, and then Travis Hunter, he's going to fall down to 6 here. 7, 8, 9, you got Tet McMillan, Will Johnson, James Pierce Jr., and then moving on to 12, we got Ashton Genty ending up where he wants to play, I think, in the Cowboys. And then we got the Steelers trading up with the Falcons at 15 to get Jackson Dart. The second tight end taken off the board, Colston Loveland, ends up with his old coach in Jim Harbaugh. And then Mike Green goes to the Detroit Lions. I really want that one to happen as a Lions fan. And the Super Bowl teams both get some defensive players in Kenneth Grant and Jihad Campbell.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up there for on the draft. I hope that the Lions can come out on top, and I hope that if they don't get Garrett, that they really get a couple guys on defense in the first 2 or 3 rounds that'll help out the cause over there, and they can make another Super Bowl push, or more like a playoff push. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up for week 1 of the Ball Knower podcast, and I thank you guys for tuning in to the first week, and we're going to start doing this on a weekly basis, so stay tuned. Tune in next week as sports continue to change, and there's a lot of new updates that we will keep you informed about. So thank you guys very much for tuning in.